Hello, and welcome to another live chapter reading of Apocalypse Thoughts by Kendra Griffin, as presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, Kella, Meet the End of Times, Maybe. It turns out that living through the possible downfall of civilization has some perks. For starters, I'm not stressing about taking the SAT a third time. I'm also not required to pretend, for the third time, that I'm actually studying for the SAT. And since I'm stranded in the woods, 2,000 miles from home, I don't have to cover for my parents drinking anymore, or cheer them up, or hydrate them so they can slog through their Zoom meetings to pay the bills. But really, the best part? In all the chaos, I've conveniently ditched a boyfriend who never listened to a word I said. On the downside, now there's a general apocalypse to navigate. Kella, my older cousin says the moment I finish organizing my backpack for today's hike, you need to watch your brother. He's up a tree. Huck does that. He's okay. He's reading. I perch on the edge of our lean-to and pick up the tattered shelter logbook. At least he's safe up there. Yeah, I'm definitely not being eaten alive, Huck calls from somewhere above my head. Good to know, I call back. That would really suck. It's not that I'm not scared. I've been scared every moment since the pandemic hit 6 weeks ago. But if my younger brother is smart enough to stash himself in a tree avoiding all predators, then I'm seizing the chance to screw my head on straight. I mean, at least I know where Huck is. Because sitting here on the wooden planks at the edge of the Appalachian Trail shelter, sitting on the edge of my entire life, really, I just feel utterly lost. As Jumper argues with the bungee cords and Huck hovers high above the world, I sketch my apocalyptic thoughts in the logbook. When I'm done, a worried-looking stick figure stares back at me. He's running while holding a sign labeled Free End Times Advice and trying to avoid being eaten by another stick figure. Be prepared for a lot of stomach growling, I write in the next panel, and a serious lack of condiments. Also, take note, cities overrun by feral human cannibals do not make for great spring break destinations. Don't be too disappointed that the world ended before you met that one guy or girl who really got you. Soon you'll have worse things to worry about than your love life, like cannibals. Some things don't matter anymore. Acne, SATs, prom. But some things matter more, like family, and keeping your temper when functioning on 3 hours of mosquito-bitten sleep. Oh, but psst. Your signature coffee drink, that triple shot macchiato with oat milk and a drizzle of chocolate syrup? Your friends don't want to tell you, but it's passé. Scabs! Jumper swears at the exhausted Bungee. Seriously, get Huck moving. It's almost 8. My cousin's last comment isn't particularly motivating, considering I spent my pre-pandemic life protesting the very existence of 8 a.m. But I do adore Huck, after all. I'd prefer he's not eaten. I walk into the clearing and survey the nearby trees, assessing their climbability. No doubt, Huck's up there reading one of the many books he smuggled into his pack. Last night, he devoured The Hunger Games until Jumper confiscated his headlamp. I appreciate having a brother with a strong sense of irony. Hey, Jumper, which tree? Jumper stands on top of his air mattress pad to deflate it into submission. It's your job to know that. Seriously, both of you. He sweeps his hand towards the sky, presumably trying to include Huck. Get on task. This trail's not going to hike itself. You sure? Huck calls. Have you tried asking it? You're its favorite hiker ever, right? Jumper ignores that. I hide a smile. Jumper hiked this entire trail 3 years ago when he graduated college, and he never stops reminding us he's an expert on fascinating topics like deer poop and soggy ramen and blister popping. He seems to think saving the world now depends on rolling his sleeping bag up small enough to fit into a tube of chapstick. I swear, if he lectures us one more time about double knotting our bootlaces to keep from tripping, he won't have to worry about hyenas anymore. I'll kill him myself. I know Jumper's exhausted, but one thing has been made painfully clear to me. Just like my parents, Jumper expects me to take care of Huck for all eternity, however long that is. Join me, Huck calls down. It's sweet up here. Sweet. I follow his voice this time. Unbelievable. He's on the roof. Scabs. I hate heights as much as Huck loves them. It's only 8 feet up, but my legs shake as I climb the crisscross logs jutting up from the shelter's corner. I poke my head over the edge and discover Huck gazing up into an ocean of fluttering round-bodied leaves. Huck, Jumper's particularly jumpy today. We gotta get going. Huck says dreamily. He pulls a leafy branch toward his face, brushing it across his nose. Then he extends his other hand. The breeze tastes silvery and green. It's not unusual for Huck to tangle up his senses like he just did, but it is unusual for him to offer physical contact, so I swallow my fear, take his hand, and crawl reluctantly onto the roof to see what's so delicious. He's right. The world above is serene, layered with pockets of hopeful green sunlight. This is a great spot, I whisper. Good find. The birches are silver. The silver is sugary, Huck yawns quietly. I'm close. I prop myself onto one arm to stare at Huck. He always finds that annoying, but I have older sister privileges. His untrimmed bangs are hanging in his eyes, and in the shifting sunlight, his pale hair looks almost silvery. It's hard to believe he turned 15 last month. My aunt and uncle stuck a candle in a batch of baked beans and sang him happy birthday, not knowing if he would see 16. Amazon doesn't deliver during an apocalypse, so I offered Huck an IOU. For a favor, no questions asked. He was thrilled. He loves that kind of thing. Me, I suspect I'll live to regret it. If I live. You're close to what? I asked Huck carefully. He doesn't always like his train of thought uncoupled. Close to seeing how it overlaps. The trees and the sugar and silver. Sap? Sugarcane? You'll figure it out, I whisper. We have to go, okay? We have to get to Virginia. You sound like Jumper. Hey, that's taking things too far, even for the end of times. We don't know it's the end of times. Maybe the cannibal mutation hasn't spread up north. I nod, though he's not looking at me. Huck doesn't make much eye contact. Half the time we communicate from the corners of our eyes. The other half we're practically telepathic. Okay, so it's not the definite end times, I agree. It's possible apocalypse then, PA? Nah, that's lame. How about the end times? Maybe. The ETM. Fine. But even in the ETM, you're not allowed to compare me to Jumper. God damn it, get down here, Jumper calls up acidly. And they're sweet. Huck ponders this, eyes flickering towards the leaves. Then the trunks around us. Sweet. Sweet and silver birches. Now hurry up. The faster we get north, the faster we're safe. You said the cannibals were nocturnal, Huck calls back, so we're safe right now. If Huck were a superhero, logic would be his superpower. And his kryptonite. I said usually, and just do what I say without arguing for once. You think I wanted to be in charge during any kind of apocalypse, possible or impossible or whatever? Jumper yells. Huck grins and releases the branch by his face. It settles back into place, relieved to be among friends. Yes, okay, sweet birches, he murmurs. I guess we better go down there, at least until Jumper figures out we're only pretending he's in charge. Without a goodbye glance, my brother scurries over the lip of the roof. For him, it's nothing to put a foot out and reach for a hold that can't be seen. But I'm not ready to move. I need 2 more minutes of sinking my thoughts into the misty Smoky Mountains and pretending this is only a bad dream. Viruses, mutations, cannibals, power outages, riots. Not to mention, we ran out of coffee. When we left my Uncle Benson's cabin yesterday, the shortwave radio broadcasts were still just cycling the same public alerts about the outbreak, and for weeks there's been no satellite service or even power to charge our cell phones. Everything about my life has been flipped upside down. The only status quo left is that Huck is still Huck, meaning he's marvelous, infuriating, painfully logical, oddly intuitive, generally abnormal by most normal standards, and my absolute favorite person in whatever is left of the world. The 2 minutes don't help. I can't relax. All my worst fears dance before my closed eyelids. Jumper's right about one thing. I shouldn't have lost track of Huck, not for a second. The cannibals aren't this far north yet. We've been outrunning the spread of the virus, Jumper says. But still, Huck could step on a snake or fall off a cliff or get himself disemboweled by wild animals. or maybe even disemboweled by his own cousin, who's slightly less feral, but also slightly less patient than a wild animal. "We don't have time for this," I hear Jumper saying now. I get it. No doubt, Huck's behaving in some totally EMT or ETM inappropriate way that my cousin hasn't learned how to manage yet. Sometimes Huck seems 15, sometimes 5, sometimes 50, sometimes infinity. And it's a lot. But I'm tired of Jumper acting like Huck's Huckness is a burden, some kind of extra pack weight he expects me to carry for him. After several missed footholds and a panicked moment spent clutching the edge of the splintery wooden roof, I hit the ground on my single-knotted boots to find Jumper standing in a pile of discarded camping gear. He's muttering curses at invisible hikers who are probably dead. "What's this? Who has dared offend the hiking gods today?" I ask. Jumper scoffed at the scattered equipment. "Amateurs. Section hikers, survival junkies, couldn't even make it up the acid trail before dumping all this expensive crap. Just because it's a designer portable shower doesn't mean it's not littering to ditch it in the woods." I nudged the contraption with my foot. "Any chance this portable shower includes portable hot water? And a loofah?" As expected, Jumper ignores my joke. He begins examining a baffling gadget with key-shaped dial. "It's an expensive stove," he muses, attaching a fuel canister. "So what? Money means nothing if the world ends," Huck says bluntly. For once, Jumper agrees. "You're right. Food, tools, weapons, that's what matters now. Come here, put this on and stand still." For all his yelling at us to hurry, there's really nothing else to do while Jumper fixates on reorganizing. It's his ETM coping strategy. As Jumper fits Huck's new backpack on him, I go to my own coping strategy, sketching stick figures in peril. Stick figures highly amuse me. They're always ending up in the worst predicaments and most easily avoidable disaster scenarios. They might be the only creatures more jinxable than me. Buck up. It turns out being picked last for dodgeball in gym class probably won't be the worst thing that ever happened to you. Your hair will never really be clean again, except to now invest in hairbands. I draw a stringy-haired figure being pelted by spiky virus cell dodgeballs. "Hold still!" I glance up. While Jumper hanks Huck's thin frame this way and that with each tug of the straps, my brother is serenely flipping the pages of his paperback. "The end of times are not as exciting as you imagined," I warn. "There's more sniping at each other than shooting. Develop a shared language ASAP for the ETM. End of times, maybe. You're doomed to be meat on a stick if you're yelling, 'Look out, hyenas, 10 o'clock,' and your neighbor's yelling back, 'Wait, you mean those people with the weird grins who turned into cannibals? They do resemble hyenas. By the way, there's one sort of kitty corner up to your right. No, my right. I mean, sorry, my bad.' This sketch could get lost in." "Stop fidgeting," Jumper grips to Huck. "Lower your arms. Stand up straight. Put the book down. Kella, what's with Huck today?" Jumper's nearing his threshold. He knows better. Knows Huck hates being talked about in the third person like he's a disobedient household pet. You okay there, brother o' mine?" I call, although Jumper is literally making physical contact with Huck. Jumper thinks you've gone deaf. Silence. Silence and page flipping. I return to my sketch. Meat on a stick. Needs more meat on his bones. "Huckleberry?" I prod. Still no answer. No answer from Huck could mean yes, no, I don't know. I'm busy playing video games. I'm working out a complex math equation. I want sugar. I just ate too much sugar. Don't bother me while I'm reading. I'm about to toboggan off the school roof, or any portion, combination, or variation on the above, along with the very likely leave me alone. More silence. More page flipping. Huck's definitely tense, while reading and jerking around like a sapling in the wind from Jumper's adjustments. Huck's also switching back and forth from his Yankees to his Red Sox hat, a sign he's unsure of his environment. Yesterday, when we left Uncle Benson's cabin and struck out for the trail, Huck shoved one hand in each mesh pocket on the sides of his backpack for easy switching access. Crud. I pull my knife closer. If Huck's on edge, then so am I. His intuition, which I call his Huck luck, is rarely wrong. After a wary scan of the landscape, I open my own journal. It's nearly full. I've been writing in smaller and smaller print and sketching in margins. So far, the ETM has been short on stationery, but it's time to make some resolutions. In a few minutes, Jumper will lead us onto the Appalachian Trail to embark upon an impossible quest. It's practically like New Year's Day, except with midges and chiggers dive bombing my thoughts instead of obnoxious post-holiday sale pop-ups. Goal for the end of times, maybe, I write. Goal number 1, take care of Huck. Well, that was predictable. Goal number 1A, refrain from killing Huck or Jumper, intentionally or not, in the process of accomplishing goal number 1. Goal number 2, stop picking at cuticles. Boring. I've had the same goals for years, including countless variations on 1A. I pause, thinking. Then I take the plunge. What the hell? I am disappointed and lonely. I don't want to die unknown. I rewrite goal number 2. Goal number 2, fall in love before the world officially definitely ends. Kella, Jumper holds up another new backpack. Your turn. Oh, I swallow hard. Litterbug amateur survival junkie section hikers might discard fancy stoves or extra batteries or portable showers, but nobody brings a spare backpack on a hike. For someone, the world has already ended. I close my eyes, willing my sadness away. After Jumper finishes molding me into his idea of a real hiker, I double-check my old backpack. It's important to continuously safeguard against Jumper's trademark executive decisions. Sure enough, he's cut out my spare pen, my extra wool socks, and my plastic razor. At the moment, goal 1A seems nearly unattainable. Hey, I grumble, pointing out his own discarded gear. Isn't it sacrilegious or something to litter up the trail this way? Sacrilegious? Jumper mutters, putting on his pack-on. Is that an SAT word? He takes a tipsy step back, then steadies himself. The weight is more than he expected. We step onto the trail, sticks crunching beneath our feet. Huck looks distant. I feel distant. Jumper just seems miserable as he takes the lead, ordering me to keep Huck ahead of me. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Bye.